Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Welcome back to the show. I hope everyone's having a great week so far. If you're in Atlanta or in the South, all of our kids are headed back to school this week. And wow, it has been a whirlwind of emotions for all of us parents out there. Anyone listening, leave a chat about whether your kid's back to school this week, what grade they're returning to, thinking of all of our busy parents in the gym and around the country that are going back to school. I think it's mostly the kids in the South and the Southeast. I grew up in New York. We don't go back to school until after Labor Day, actually. So, like, my sister and her kids aren't back just yet. But, anyways, back to school for a lot of us busy parents around. Good morning, Keith. Keith, thank you for giving my son Leo a fresh look for his first day of kindergarten yesterday. He walked in with so much swag. If you guys are around Atlanta, go see Keith. I'll put up his Insta again for you guys. He is the best barber, and my son always looks so cute. He gave him so much confidence starting his first day. So thank you for that. Little shout out for you. So yeah, this week, was my son's first drop off, you guys, at his new school. And my daughter is starting too, but she's at the same school and literally like a room next to the room that she was in last year. So she doesn't quite have the same emotions and nerves as my son does. So, he's starting kindergarten this year. And now he's going to a big school. He's in an elementary school. So no more nursery or preschool rooms anymore. Not the little buildings we've known for years. He's in an actual giant school with the big hallways, the cafeteria. He's got a giant backpack that's bigger than half of his body. And here's the thing that nobody really preps you for: the mixture of emotions that you're going to have as a parent entering this chapter. And I'm so excited for him, but also a little sad. And, I can see he's experiencing these same feelings too. So I had to start with this because it's such a big part of my week. And I know a big part of the parents in the gym and all of our members that we work with in their weeks too. So, I'm not going to lie, I lost it a couple times yesterday and Sunday, the night before, like kind of leading up to this moment, because in my head, he's still my firstborn little baby. And now he's walking into this huge building, into this huge world without me. And it feels like it happened so fast, even though I know he's about to be 6 years old. And if you're a mom who just did a first drop off, right? Kindergarten, pre-K, maybe the first day of even of nursery school. I know exactly where you are right now. That mix of pride, but also grief that nobody warns you is going to hit at the same time. You're so excited for who they're becoming, and you're also quietly mourning who they were. And you're not being dramatic for having those emotions. Don't let anyone make you feel bad about having those feelings. That's just what it feels like to raise a person that you just love so much. So here's what I want to say to you today, if you're listening or listening later on. Take the moment and feel it. Take it in. Don't rush past it because you've got a meeting at 9 and a to-do list that's a mile long now. Right? Let yourself really sit in it for a minute, because what's happening this week is big for you and for your kid. Okay, but then there is this part that I really want to talk about today. That is why I came on here and was inspired to kind of link this to my topic. I want you to notice something, busy parents. This season, this drop off that you just went through, this big milestone that you and your kid just achieved, it's also handing you something back, right? It's giving you a few more hours in the day. It's giving you a little bit more room. And so many of you have spent years pouring every bit of yourselves into these kids, which is exactly what they needed, right, in that season. But now it's also a moment to start asking, right, what do I need? What have I been putting off, right? That's what I want to get into today. So I want to introduce you to two moms. This is the topic and headline of my chat today. I want to introduce you to two moms, same chaos, same full plates, and show you what actually separates the one who's finding her way back to herself from the one who isn't. Okay, so for anyone listening who doesn't know me, before I get into the meat of this, I'm Lauren. I own OxFit here in Grant Park in East Atlanta, and I coach a lot of women. I coach a lot of you moms juggling toddlers and a full-time job and about 6 other people's schedules besides your own. And the question I get more than any other is some version of, I don't have the time to work out. I just don't know how I can fit it in to my busy schedule, right? And when you look at your schedule, oftentimes it seems impossible to find a window to squeeze anything else in. So today, what I want to actually talk about is testing that out with you, right? And with these 2 moms that we're going to map out. Not with just a lecture, but with 2 real women. Same week, same chaos. And I want to show you on this board behind me here exactly where their weeks diverge, because it's not actually where you'd guess it would. So one of these moms is going to lose 5 to 10 pounds and drop a pant size in the next 8 weeks. And the other one is going to be in the exact same place that they were before, just actually more tired. So let's build out their week together. All right. So I'm going to draw out for you 2 moms. We're going to call them Jennas. Okay, so let's actually walk through our 2 Jennas. Let's walk through their day kind of hour by hour here. Okay, so bear with me. It's been a while since I've drawn and written out some things on a whiteboard. I'm usually typing all day. All right, so we've got Jenna number 1. Okay. I'm going to have to write big here. And Jenna number 2. All right. And Jenna number 1 is our happy, calm mom. Okay. She's got her stuff together. Jenna number 2 here is a little frazzled. Okay. Can we see that? Yes. Maybe I'll pull this a little closer. Zoom in. Okay. Pull this closer. All right. So we're going to break this down and really kind of go hour by hour with our responsibilities, because I want you to see really just how identical this is for these 2 moms. Okay. Before I show you kind of where it splits. All right. So we're going to talk through a standard kind of day. So this is, a mom with 2 kids. She's a wife and she is busy. So let's say 7 a.m., right? This is kids wake up and it is time for breakfast. All right. If you're a busy parent, you're going to feel this, right? This is you. Let's say 7:30 a.m., right? We go right into our drop-off schedule. And now this can vary in length, right? Based on if your kids are at the same school or not. You might be driving different spots. And so that drop-off window might last, potentially an hour or so. Then let's say 9 a.m. meetings start. So this Jenna is not only a mom of 2 toddlers, but she is also a busy working professional with a full-time job, okay? She's got to squeeze lunch in there. She's got to find time, right, for maybe a workout, a walk with a colleague, whatever. Then we go into pickup. For purposes of these Jennas, they're picking up around 3:30. Okay, so maybe there's a little aftercare in there. Maybe there's not. All right, so we got then straight into the chaos of the pickup routine. Maybe that's 1 school, maybe that's 2. Then we've got extracurriculars. So both of these Jennas have toddlers that are starting soccer right now. So we've got soccer practice, right? Then after that, we go into dinner and bedtime, right? So between 6 and 8 p.m., we've got dinner, we've got bedtime, and then we've got, of course, after that, clean up and maybe some time to read a book, Netflix, hang out with your partner, So then there's this 8 to 10 p.m. window. Hopefully we're asleep by 10 o'clock. But this is what both Jennas here are having to navigate, right? So this is our cleanup and me time, I'll call it. All right. So lots of lots of me time on the board here, right? Lots of space, right? Okay. So this is, if you're a busy parent listening to this, you're a mom, right? Look at that. There's a lot going on, in these moms' days. Jenna 1 and Jenna 2 are in the thick of it. And these moms right now are identical. This schedule is the same for both of these moms. And this is how it works for most parents, right? They have the same alarm. They have the same drop-off line. They have the same 9 a.m. meeting. They're in meetings all day long. And then they have the same cleats that they need to find before soccer practice. They have the same dishes in the sink at 8 p.m. All right. And if you're watching this thinking that's my week, good. That's the point. Because if the day looks the same for both of them, then the difference between these two moms can't be actually the day. It has to be something else, right? Okay, so let's summarize this. We're going to erase this whole list for purposes of our drawing here that we're going to build upon. All right, and we're just going to summarize this, right? So we've got wife, mom, right? And she's got kids and lots of other things throughout the day going on. So these Jennas have really identical schedules, okay, day to day, all right? What they do with them in any of the windows available is going to be the differentiator here, and that's what we're going to talk about next, okay? So this is where it's going to split, because this is their Monday to Friday, okay? So we're going to actually draw a little fork in the road here. All right, so we got Jenna 1 and Jenna 2, same Monday to Friday schedules. But where it's going to differ for these moms, all right? And this is where the story really is the weekend. So how do these moms spend, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday? Okay, so we're going to talk about that next. Okay, so let's talk about Jenna number 1 with the smiley face here, okay? So Jenna number 1 is going to protect her weekends, all right? She's going to save about 2 hours of time for shopping, for her food shopping, her grocery shopping, and her meal prep. So let's say Jenna number 1 with our smiley face shops maybe Friday night, Friday before pickup, or Saturday at some point. So she's planning for her grocery shop in the week. And then she's going to save some time on Sunday for some meal prep. And that way her fridge is going to be full of real food before Monday hits. Okay. So let's write this out. All right. So Jenna number 1 is going to, let's say, use the weekend to plan. Okay. And what does that mean, right? So she's planning when she shops. So shop Friday, let's say, and then prep, Saturday or Sunday. Let's say Sunday. Okay, so that's Jenna number 1. Okay, so because of that, like I said, her fridge is going to be full heading into the week with real food. Like she's ready to tackle the week ahead. She's also not only going to have fresh food and good quality food in her fridge, but she's going to plan out her menu and her meals for the week, right? She's going to know Monday to Friday based on her and her, partner and her kids' schedules, like what they're going to cook every night. So she's also, Jenna number 1, going to have a, weekly menu planned out. And then on top of that, while she's spending a little bit of time on the weekend planning and prepping, she's also going to go ahead and put on her smart calendar, her shared calendar with her partner, or her whiteboard calendar on her fridge, her workouts, right? So she's also layering that in too. So let's say we're going to call it OxFit workouts 3 times at least. Okay. So she's making that plan. She's feeling prepared, spends a little bit of her time over the weekend. And we're talking like 2 hours, okay, to prep and prepare for the week ahead. All right. Now we're going to switch gears and go to Jenna number 2 over here, okay, with our little frazzled face. So Jenna number 2 is going to be saying yes to everything all weekend long. Okay. And now that is fun and there is a time for that. Okay. But this Jenna is saying yes to all the birthday parties, all the extra plans. She's going to, end up sleeping in a little bit on the weekend too, because she's got such a packed weekend. It's a lot of fun. Okay. But it doesn't necessarily leave room for preparation or rest. And she ends up being exhausted by Sunday and, goes into Sundays going, oh, instead of this whole to-do list that I have, I'm just going to figure it out. We'll figure the week out. We'll make it work. Okay. So let's write this down. So Jenna number 2 is going to, let's say, yes to everything. Okay. Jenna number 2. And again, it's nothing wrong with having some fun, but if you have too much fun and just say yes to everything and don't put boundaries up, okay, right, it can lead to exhaustion. Okay, so that's the point of this. So there's no boundaries for Jenna number 2, right? She's not really protecting that preparation time headed into the next week. And, she often says like, I'll figure it out. And there's just really no plan, right? She's exhausted. Okay. A fun weekend, but probably could have done with putting up some boundaries and maybe saying no to at least one thing. So let's be clear here, right? This is not a discipline gap between these two Jennas and these two moms, right? It's not that Jenna number 1 over here, has better genes or more willpower. She's not, a better mom. What's actually happening is way simpler than that. Jenna, they made different decisions. Jenna number 1 and Jenna number 2 made some different decisions in advance. And, the other one's making 15 small decisions every single day, really exhausted and always feeling a little bit behind, while the first Jenna is making decisions ahead of time. Okay, so Jenna number 1 makes her decisions in advance and plans a little bit more over here. Jenna number 2 is kind of always making small decisions throughout the week, never really ahead of the game. All right, so think about what that actually looks like now. So Jenna 2 is going to wake up on Monday, okay? And Jenna number 2 has to decide what's for breakfast on Monday morning, right? She's searching through the fridge. Like she's deciding what's for lunch, what's for dinner. When am I working out? What am I wearing? Did I sign the soccer form? Over and over all day long, lots of small decisions with a brain that's already running on empty from a full work day and 2 toddlers pick up and drop off schedules. So that's not a lack of discipline, right? It's just exhausting though. And nobody has the willpower to make that many good decisions on no sleep and no plan. Nobody. So Jenna number 1 made most of those decisions once, maybe twice over the weekend on, Friday and Sunday as she was planning, as she was preparing for the whole week, right? So Monday through Friday, Jenna number 1 isn't really having to decide on anything. She's just executing a plan that's already been built for her and that she trusts. Okay, so Jenna number 1 isn't deciding throughout the week when she's going to work out. She's not deciding throughout the week, what is she going to cook based on what's in the refrigerator. It's already been planned out and mapped out for the whole week. Right. And that's why the weekend is everything. Not because you need, 6 hours of free time that you don't have. You don't, it's because the weekend is the only window really where you get to make decisions ahead of the chaos instead of in the middle of it on a Tuesday at 6 p.m. Right. So 2 hours on, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday is worth more than any amount of willpower, that you could scrape together on a Tuesday at 6 p.m. And this isn't about overhauling, your whole life. It's small. It's a boundary, right? Jenna number 1 isn't saying yes to every single thing every weekend, right? She has time in her calendar that she's protected. It's a habit. She's sitting down for 20 minutes to look at next week before it starts, writing out her menu, making adjustments based on what new extracurriculars are, on her kid's plate for that week. So it's one system, right? And I know, that's going to have a knock-on effect for sure. So Monday through Friday, it feels like it's just flowing and happening naturally. And that's it. So that's the whole shift. Those small changes, protected on purpose on that one day of the week, you actually have room to make them on that Friday when you're shopping, on that Sunday when you're, washing fruit, chopping it up, prepping, a bunch of turkey bacon or chicken sausage for breakfast, pre-portioning out snacks, that all adds up and helps you have a smoother week. Okay. So what does this actually look like in Jenna's week 1 or first week, right? After the weekend of setting herself up with this plan. What does that next week flow and look like and feel like? Because she made decisions on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So what happens is Jenna number 1 right here, who did all that preparation, isn't scrambling. The food's already in the fridge, so dinner isn't a 6 p.m. crisis. And that alone frees up the mental space to actually show up for herself. That's why she makes it to the gym, at least 3 times a week. Not 6 days, just 3 times. It's not some extreme unsustainable schedule. 3 is what fits inside a real week with 2 toddlers and a full-time job. And 3 is what actually moves the needle. So if you look at Jenna number 1's day, she might be, working out before her kids wake up at 7 a.m. when we wrote out the entire schedule. She might be working out at 8:15 in our OxFit Moms class, right after she drops off her kids, before her 9:30 a.m. meetings start for the day, okay? But she's already that weekend looked at her schedule and mapped it out and then planned it and saved it and protected that time, that workout time. So she's not in the moment scrambling to figure out when she's going to work out, okay? And then on the days that she's maybe not at OxFit, she's not doing anything. She's just using time that she already has differently. So she's maybe taking a walk while her kids are at soccer practice instead of scrolling in her car because she's so exhausted from not planning for the week. Maybe she's taking the dog out on the bell line instead of sitting on the couch scrolling. That's not extra time carved out of an already packed schedule. That is just time that she's using efficiently because she's planned her week out and her stress levels are low. She has a clear vision of her week. And here's the part that matters more than people realize. Those walks, maybe on her days when she's not at OxFit, they're not just, steps on an Apple Watch. They're actually actively lowering her stress levels and her stress hormones, which keeps her clear-headed and regulated instead of frazzled and reactive like Jenna number 2 over here, right? And when Jenna number 1 is doing this, she's not running on stress hormones all day. It's easier for her to stick to the plan that she made on Sunday because she's not white knuckling her way through small decision after small decision on an already depleted nervous system. This is the piece I talk about often on my podcasts because it's backed by real research about how chronically elevated cortisol and stress works against you no matter how good your workouts are or your nutrition. And we're talking about elevated cortisol, right? Not just normal cortisol stressors because of a workout. So when your stress is always really high, right, your body holds on to things physically and mentally. When you bring those stress levels down and you've planned for the week and things are flowing, everything else you're working for actually has room to happen, right? Then the body composition changes can start happening that you might want, right? You might have a fat loss goal and you'll see the changes. You might have strength gains and goals that you want to achieve. The mental clarity, the sleep quality, like it all just starts to compound when your central nervous system is in check and you're just executing on a plan rather than reacting to decision after decision after decision throughout the day. So that's the real story here, right? It's not that Jenna number one over here, is working out more than Jenna number two or trying harder than Jenna number two. She's not a better mom, than Jenna number two. But Jenna number one is lowering her stress through small, consistent movement. And she's making it easier to protect her plan, which makes it easier for her to lower her stress throughout the week. So one good decision in setting her week up for success and doing some planning and preparation has this chain reaction that just keeps paying her back all week long. Okay, so now let's flip it over to Jenna number two over here, okay, who said yes to everything, has no boundaries, no plan, and is exhausted by the end of the weekend, okay? Because the exact same mechanism is running for Jenna number two, but it's just in the opposite direction for her because she didn't protect any time on the weekend, right? So Monday shows up and there's no food in the fridge. She's not prepared at all for her kids or for herself. So dinner becomes a scramble in the evening. Lunch becomes whatever's fastest. This might lead to ordering out a lot. And every single meal is another decision that she has to make on the spot in the middle of an already full day. And that's not a small thing. That's 15 extra decisions layered on top of a full-time job and 2 toddlers drop-off schedules, right? Every single day, all week, that's going to exhaust Jenna number two, right? And her body feels that. Jenna number two, without the plan, is constantly scrambling all week long, constantly behind, constantly reacting, instead of just executing on a plan that she only spent 2 hours using and building out on the weekend. Okay. So Jenna number two over here, she's in a constant stress state. Her cortisol stays elevated. And when cortisol does stay elevated consistently, then, she's not clear-headed. She's just always reacting, which means by the time 5 p.m. rolls around and it's technically maybe her time to work out in the evening, she doesn't have the bandwidth left to make it happen. So she skips it. And then comes the guilt, which on its own is another stressor, which pushes cortisol up even further and makes tomorrow even harder to get ahead of. And this is the same physiology I walked you through with Jenna number one, right? Elevated stress doesn't just feel bad. It actively makes it harder for your body to let go of fat, harder to recover from workouts, harder to think clearly enough to make a good decision at 5 p.m. for what you're going to eat for dinner, right? When you're exhausted. So even if Jenna number two here wanted to grab a walk, right? Or squeeze in a workout, her nervous system has been working against her all week long, right? And here's the part I really want you to sit with. This isn't a Tuesday problem. It's not just like a bad day situation. Like this is an entire loop that Jenna number two is going to continue doing if she does not use that weekend and optimize her plan heading into Monday, okay? So it's just going to continue to lead to scrambling. It's going to continue to lead to skipped workouts throughout the week, stress eating, more and more guilt because she hasn't been following her plan that she's in her mind, supposed to be on, because she's too depleted to even think about Sunday. Round and round. And I want to be really clear, this was never about Jenna number two being lazy or undisciplined, right? It's the predictable result of never protecting those hours on the weekend to break the cycle before it starts. Okay, so look at this. We've got our 2 Jennas here. I'm going to do a little star action around Jenna number one's schedule. Jenna number one, again, is optimizing over the weekend. Jenna number one is using her weekend and she's still doing fun stuff. She's still going to kids' birthday parties. She's still like booking a babysitter and having a date night, but she's protecting just 2 hours of her weekend to really separate her shopping and her meal prep and then look at her calendar and update it for the week. Write out her menu and her meals for the week, and maybe do a little bit of meal prep too, so the fridge is ready to go. Okay. So, and then Jenna number 2 is just saying yes to everything. Jenna number 2 is just spiraling. She's just always reacting, saying yes to everything, but not putting up boundaries and not planning for the week ahead. So play all of this forward, right? Not for 1 week, but let's play this forward for 8 weeks, okay? Of Jenna number 1 in motion, using her weekends. Jenna number 2, not optimizing over the weekend at all for that week ahead. Okay, so one of these women is compounding a little bit of calm, right? And a little bit of consistency every single week. And that's Jenna number 1. And then Jenna number 2 is compounding stress and skipped plans every single week. Same starting point, same chaos for both of these moms and Jennas. Same amount of time in the day. We already went through their full schedule. It's identical, right? Both busy moms with 2 drop-offs, jobs all day, meetings all day, a husband, to navigate, meals to plan and prep, right? Same schedules, same chaos, but completely different trajectories for both of them. And not because of who they are, but because of what they did on the weekend to protect their plan and their time. Okay. So let's talk about the 8-week results for both of these Jennas. Okay. So 8 weeks in, here's where they land. All right. So Jenna number 1, she's down 5 to 10 pounds. Okay. So Jenna number 1, the one that's optimizing her weekend, has big goals for herself personally and for her fitness. So Jenna number 1 is down 5 pounds. She's dropped a pant size. So Jenna number 1 went from a size 10 to a size 8. She's been wanting to do that for years, and she finally started planning out her weeks over the weekend. And it happened because of that. And then she also, honestly, the number on the scale for Jenna is just, it's not even the headline really for her. It's the confidence that she's gotten. It's the calm that she's gotten. She's less stressed. She's sleeping better. She feels like herself again. So Jenna number 1 is confident. She's happy. She's smiling up here. Can you see my board? And she's less stressed. Okay. So 8-week results for Jenna number 1 came in, and she is winning. Okay. Jenna number 2 is in the exact same place that she started, right? So she never did anything different. She didn't enlist any help. She didn't do any planning. She didn't protect her time. So same women, but Jenna number 1 has seen significant body composition changes. Jenna number 2 is in the same spot she was 8 weeks ago. Okay, Jenna number 2 is even more overwhelmed because she's having to react and make 15 decisions every day because she's always behind. Okay, so Jenna number 2 is exhausted, tired, overwhelmed, and always says what I hear often: I'll start on Monday. Sorry, my writing is terrible right now. I'll start on Monday. Continues to say that because she doesn't protect her weekend time. Okay. And not because she didn't want it. Jenna number 2 wants it, but she's just spiraling. She's so tired. She can't think clearly. She's an exhausted, overstimulated, stressed out mom, right? Who's just never said yes to protecting her time or yes to enlisting some help, and sat down and looked at her plan and executed it. She's just in this loop that she cannot break, just continues to circle and circle and circle. Same Jenna every week, right? This Jenna, I'm going to put an arrow up, is on a rocket ship. She is just soaring. She is just making changes, and maybe it's not happening super quick, but consistency is winning for Jenna number 1. Okay. So Look, I told you at the start of this episode, about my son walking into that big school on Monday and how I stood in that parking lot kind of feeling like, gosh, time had moved faster than I was ready for. And this wave of emotions and nostalgia. And that feeling doesn't go away. But it's exactly why this matters so much right now. And this topic matters so much because if you're in this season, if you are Jenna number 2 right now and you are running on empty, saying yes to everything else except yourself, the 2 hours I'm talking about aren't just about a pant size. They're about getting back a little piece of the person you were before you were only ever pouring yourself out. So if you're watching this and you know exactly which Jenna you are right now, maybe you are Jenna number 2 and you just can't break out of this cycle and you're spinning your head and you're just exhausted, right? I want to be clear about something. This was never a discipline story. Jenna number 2, if that's you listening, you're not lazy, you're not undisciplined. You're just exhausted. And Jenna number 2 isn't less than Jenna number 1. Jenna number 2 loves her kids, loves her husband, loves her family just as much as Jenna number 1, right? But she's just never protected those 2 hours over the weekend to give back to herself, to plan, right? To be better the next week. And that's a fixable problem, not a character flaw. So fitness doesn't have to stop when motherhood starts. I know it feels overwhelming and some days like it's impossible, but it just requires a plan, not because your week isn't going to slow down and hand you just all of a sudden this giant extra lump of time. Maybe right now, this week and next week might be those only weeks where you feel like you have a bit of extra time as you're getting used to your kids going back to school, right? But it's very rare that all of a sudden this just window opens up of extra time. So this is exactly what we build with our members inside OxFit's coaching program. It's not a workout plan that assumes you have unlimited time and a spotless kitchen. We help you find your 2 hours, figure out where it actually fits into your specific week. Build a simple meal prep rhythm with you around it. And we program strength training that's going to fit into, the 3 days for your schedule. We don't need 6, we need 3, okay? And on top of that, we help you find the movement that you're already doing. And maybe it's while you're watching your kids' soccer practice and we're trying to get on a walk while they're practicing, right? Or you're taking your dog for a walk already, you didn't even count that. And we're going to use it on purpose and not by accident. You don't need more hours in your week. You need a plan for the ones that you already have and a coach in your corner, making sure you actually stick to it, especially in the weeks when life gets loud. And if that's you, if you're ready to stop scrambling every Sunday and throughout the week and actually have a plan by Monday morning where you're just flowing and your week is happening with you and you feel good, you're in a rhythm, like Jenna number 1 over here, right? Please email me at lauren@ox.fit or apply using the link in the description below. We'll map out your week together. I love helping moms, busy moms like you. So I hope to see you in the next one. Hope you guys enjoyed the whiteboard picture drawing, something a little bit different. And I'll see a lot of you guys at OxFit this week. I hope all the busy parents are having a great week and the kids are having a great first week back at school. Let's go get it.